The vault door is open. It's a little after 8 in the morning on Monday, July 7th. The manager is standing in the doorway, and she hasn't moved in almost a minute, because her brain is refusing to accept what she's looking at. The floor is covered in pried open metal. 268 safe deposit boxes, torn out of the wall and emptied onto the carpet. $18 million in cash, gold, and diamonds, gone. And the thing she doesn't know yet, the thing that will take investigators 3 days to piece together, is that it's been like this since Thursday night. The vault was robbed over an entire long weekend, in the middle of Manhattan, and for 3 full days, nobody noticed. This wasn't a genius. There was no mastermind. It was a crew of 10 people, 1 board employee, a diamond drill, and a calendar. And only 6 of them ever went near the building on the nights it happened. This is how every one of them saw that weekend. Start at the top, with the person who never goes anywhere near the building. You're the money. Before any of this happens, somebody has to buy the diamond drill, rent the vehicles, pay for 14 months of surveillance, and feed 10 people who can't hold normal jobs while they plan. That's about $120,000 up front, gone, with no guarantee of anything. That's you. On paper, you're clean. You own 2 laundromats and a car wash in Queens. You've never been arrested. You will never touch a single diamond. What you do is find the crew, fund the crew, and take 25% off the top before anyone else sees a cent. Because you took the only risk that can't be undone. You paid first. Most of the people you're funding will never even learn your name. That's not paranoia. That's the design. The less everyone knows, the less anyone can give away. 14 months before the vault opens, there's a man across the street with a coffee and no particular reason to be there. His name is Marcus. He's 58. He used to be a locksmith, and he is very, very patient. He photographs the same door 400 times. He learns the guard rotation. He learns which nights the alarm company comes to test the system, which nights the cleaners come, and what time the last employee actually leaves versus what time they're supposed to. And he learns the one thing that matters more than all of it. The vault itself is a fortress. Walls 1.5 feet of solid reinforced concrete, a door built to survive a fire. But the building around it is not. Next door is a luggage repair shop that closed 8 months ago and never got rented again. It shares a wall, and nobody, in 14 months, ever thinks about that wall. Because everyone is looking at the door. Every job like this has an inside man, and it's almost never the one you'd expect. She doesn't work for the vault. She works for the company that services the vault's fire and alarm systems, a contractor in and out of the building twice a year, with a legitimate keycard to the mechanical room and a legitimate reason to be near the alarm panel. Her name is Elena, and what she sells the crew isn't a key. It's information. She knows the maintenance window, the 90-minute gap when the system gets tested and the monitoring station ignores whatever it sees. And she knows something better. One motion sensor in the vault's antechamber, sensor number 4, has been throwing false alarms for months. Instead of replacing it, the staff did what busy people always do. They turned its sensitivity down until it stopped bothering them. One sensor, half asleep, in the exact room you have to walk through. Remember that. It comes back at the end. But information is not the same as access. Someone still has to walk into that building and make the whole system believe nothing is wrong. That's the next person. His name is Levi. He's barely into his 20s. And he is the reason Elena's information is worth anything at all. Because information isn't access. Someone has to sit in that mechanical room in the dark and actually keep the system blind for 82 hours straight. That's Levi. He takes the false alarm sensor, sensor number 4, and makes sure it stays exactly as useless as the staff left it, while quietly feeding the alarm panel a steady loop of everything is normal. He doesn't cut a single wire. Cut wires trigger alarms. He convinces the system that nothing is happening. And here's what makes Levi the most quietly terrifying person on the crew. He's the only one who understands that the moment anything goes wrong, a power flicker, a real fault, a guard who comes back for a forgotten phone, the entire building lights up. And there is nothing anyone can do to stop it. Doc controls the wall. Levi controls whether anyone ever finds out about the wall. And for 3 nights, he does not sleep. Now you need someone who can actually get through the wall. And that person is worth more than everyone else combined. His name is Wesley. Everyone calls him Doc, and he used to work in demolition. A diamond core drill will go through 18 inches of reinforced concrete in about 2 hours. That's not the hard part. The wall was never the hard part. The hard part is everything the drill produces while it works. The noise, which is enormous. The dust, which fills the room. The heat, which can seize the bit. And the water, because a drill like this needs a constant water feed to keep from burning out. And that water has to go somewhere. Doc is the only person on the crew who's done this before. And in the first meeting, he says the thing that ends up defining the entire job. He says, "We will not empty that vault. It's not possible in the time we have. We take what we can reach, and we leave on schedule. Because the fastest way to prison is to get greedy about the last hour." Every job has one person whose entire role is to be bored, correctly, for as long as humanly possible. That's Antonio. 50s, calm, completely forgettable, the kind of man nobody looks at twice. He sits in a parked car 2 blocks away with a coffee, a newspaper he isn't reading, and a police scanner turned down low. His job isn't to fight anyone. It's to talk. To say 4 words into a radio. Car coming, hold still, before anyone inside hears an engine. For 2 nights he watches the same street, and for 2 nights nothing happens, which is exactly what's supposed to happen. And then, at 2:20 on the second night, a patrol car rolls up the block, slows, and stops directly outside the vault. Antonio doesn't move. He keys the radio once. Inside, the drilling stops dead, and nobody breathes. And for 90 of the longest seconds any of them will ever live, the entire operation hangs on whether one tired cop is actually looking at a dark storefront, or just checking his phone before he drives away. So here's the plan, and every piece of it is chosen for a reason. Why the 4th of July? Because the building closes for a 4-day weekend, security drops to a skeleton, and the entire city spends 3 nights setting off fireworks. A neighborhood full of loud, percussive noise that nobody investigates. Why the luggage store? Because it shares that forgotten wall, and an empty store with the lights off is invisible. Why the elevator shaft? Because it connects the 2 buildings below street level, out of sight of every camera pointed at the front. And why Thursday at 9:15 at night? Because that's when the last legitimate person leaves. And the next legitimate person isn't due for 82 hours. The plan isn't built to be perfect. It's built to fail safely. Every step has an exit. Every hour has a point where, if it's going wrong, you walk away with nothing instead of walking into handcuffs. Thursday, 9:15 at night. The street is dead. The crew goes in through the luggage store, down into the elevator shaft, and across to the shared wall in the dark. 2 blocks away, Antonio settles into his car and turns the scanner down low. In the mechanical room, Levi brings the alarm panel under his control and starts the longest shift of his life. The drill starts at 11, and for the first 2 hours, everything goes exactly the way Doc said it would. Slow, loud, filthy, but working. Then, at 1:40 in the morning, the drill hits rebar. Steel reinforcing bar, buried in the concrete, exactly where the plans didn't show it. And this is the moment that quietly decides the whole night. Because going through rebar isn't like going through concrete. It's slower, it's louder, and it costs them 90 minutes they will never get back. 90 minutes in a job where the entire currency is time. By the time the hole is finished, it's just big enough for one person to squeeze through at a time. And the first night is already gone. They spend Friday hidden in the dark, waiting out the daylight, and go back to work when the city goes quiet again. On the other side of that hole is the thing they came for. 1,140 safe deposit boxes, floor to ceiling. And here's the part people never understand about a vault job. You don't open a vault. You open boxes, one at a time, by hand, with a pry bar, and each one takes real effort. And once, for the 90 seconds, a patrol car sits idling outside, not at all. They get through 268 of them. They leave 872 completely untouched. Not because they're finished, because it's 4 in the morning on Saturday, and the plan says out before the sun, no exceptions. They walk out with an estimated $18 million in a set of duffel bags, and they walk directly past at least 60 million more, still sitting in the wall. That's the discipline that separates the people who get away with it from the people who don't. They didn't take everything. They took what the clock allowed, and they left. The 2 people actually inside that vault, pulling boxes off the wall for hours, are the lifters, Tommy and Reggie. Theirs is the worst job on the crew and the middle share of the money. It's not clever work. It's labor. Pry, empty, drop next, for hours, in a hot room full of concrete dust, wearing a mask, knowing the clock is running. And every single box is a gamble they don't get to control. One box holds $400,000 in loose diamonds. The next one holds a stack of old letters, a war medal, and a dead man's watch. Worthless to them, and the only thing in the world to whoever owned it. You can't tell from the outside. You just pry and hope and move to the next one. And near the end, with the sky starting to turn, Reggie wants 10 more minutes. Just 10, for the next row. Doc says no. They leave. That argument, the one Reggie lost, is the only reason any of them will still be free a year later. Because in every job that ends in handcuffs, somebody got their 10 more minutes. Then there's the driver. Deshaun, 23 years old, the newest person on the crew, and the one whose entire job lasts about 11 minutes. The drive out. He takes the smallest share of the money, and here's the part that matters. He is, by a wide margin, the biggest liability of the entire operation. Because Deshaun is the guy who doesn't fully believe the rules apply to him. He's the one who keeps his phone on the whole weekend, because who's really going to check? He's the one who takes the toll road on the way out because it's 20 minutes faster. He's the one who pays for a cheap motel with a card in his own name because paying cash for everything felt paranoid. Every crew has one. The one who thinks the discipline is for other people. Hold on to him. He's how this entire thing comes apart. Now the crew has $18 million in diamonds, gold, and cash. Except they don't, because stolen goods are not worth what the goods are worth. That's where the last person comes in. The fence. His name is Solomon. He's a legitimate dealer in the diamond district by day. And he buys stolen stones at somewhere between 20 and 30 cents on the dollar. Loose diamonds get recut into slightly smaller, completely anonymous stones. Gold gets melted into bars with no history. That part is easy. The problem is the famous pieces, the named stones, the auction pieces, the heirlooms with paperwork. Those are radioactive. Sell one, and you might as well call the FBI yourself. So they sit in a safe for years, or they get broken up and sold for a fraction of what they're worth. By the time it's all converted, $18 million of retail value has become about $4.5 million in actual, spendable cash. The fence took almost no risk, and he took one of the biggest cuts. That's the business. So how does a crew this careful get caught? Not the way the movies tell you. There's no fingerprint, no dropped ID, no brilliant detective staring at a chalkboard. There's a license plate reader on a bridge that automatically photographed a white van crossing at 3 in the morning, on 3 separate nights in a row. Which is exactly the kind of pattern a computer is very good at noticing. There's a cell tower dump that shows one phone connecting to the tower nearest the vault, every single night of the robbery. That phone belongs to Deshawn. There's a motel 20 minutes away with a keycard record and a payment in a real name. And there's one crew member, Tommy, who could not resist telling one person what he'd done. That's it. That's the whole case. It didn't matter that Levi kept the alarm blind for 82 hours, or that Antonio never once broke cover in 3 nights on that street. 10 people spent over a year building something invisible, and it came apart because of the digital exhaust that ordinary life leaves behind. A plate, a phone, a card, and a secret one person couldn't keep. A chain is exactly as strong as its most careless link. The arrests happen over the next 8 months, one thread at a time. The sentences land between 6 and 12 years, depending on how early each person started cooperating. Because once the first one talks, the rest is just paperwork. About 15% of the goods are ever recovered. The rest is gone. Recut, melted, spent, or sitting in a safe somewhere waiting for a decade to pass. The vault company folds within a year, buried under lawsuits from box holders who assumed their valuables were insured. And discover, in the worst possible way, that private vault contents usually aren't, and legally weren't, the vault's problem. The jeweler's entire inventory, gone. An elderly widow's wedding ring, gone. And here's the part that should stay with you. This fortress, the 1.5 foot walls, the fireproof door, the 14 months it took just to find a way in, was beaten because of one motion sensor that kept crying wolf and a staff that got tired of listening. A fortress with one door quietly propped open. Everything else was just 10 people patient enough to find it. Oh, and that $4.5 million in cash? It's dirty, every dollar of it, and cleaning it is a completely different crime. But that's the next video.